We have the tech to get food delivered in 15 minutes, but we all have horror stories about buying tickets. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage. Get amazing tickets in just a few taps. Fees are included, so what you see is what you pay. And the Game Time guarantee means authentic tickets at the best price every time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets to concerts, sports, comedy, and more with Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply.
In business, there's no room for guesswork. Every shipment matters. Every deadline counts. When you're trying to keep operations running smoothly, the last thing you need is uncertainty. That's why reliability is at the core of USPS Ground Advantage. From the moment your package is first scanned in, it moves through a secure nationwide network, aiding in a timely and accurate delivery. You get near real-time tracking so you can keep up with your shipments. And with affordable upfront pricing, there are no hidden fees or surprise surcharges to throw off your cost sheets. It all adds up to predictable deliveries you can depend on. Because knowing your logistics are handled lets you focus on everything else: your customers, your team, and the future you're building. Visit USPS.com/Ground Advantage to start shipping with confidence. USPS, official shipping sponsor of the NHL.
This is VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. This is Money Moves on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Let's get into it on a Thursday edition of Money Moves, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, Sirius XM Channel 158. He's Jonathan Von Tobel. I'm Stormy Bonantoni. Hope everybody's having a great morning, early afternoon. Should be well rested after what was a couple of games in both the NBA and NHL postseason that I think is fair to say lacked intrigue in the latter moments.
Are we talking about the night game in the NBA? I didn't realize there was a game because I wasn't paying attention. Yeah, that was an ass-kicking last night for the San Antonio Spurs. It's just that simple. Just bet the zigzag. At least in this round, you've been working out pretty well. I did not enjoy that because I took 10.5. But I like that better as opposed to in the first game, which was a little bit more intriguing. And we'll get to the details. And we got an update on OG Anunoby, which we can give as well, day-to-day with a hamstring injury. But that one, it looked like maybe the Knicks were going to cover in the waning minutes because they were up by 5 with the ball. They had free throws coming. It was like 24 seconds left. You're like, man, what a way to go down if you had that number, especially in our contest. It was 7. So it was like, I was hoping, come on, because I played the stale number. But I'd rather have a quick and painless death just come up and slit my throat and end it now, as opposed to holding on an entire game only for your team to let go of the rope at the end.
Safe to say, polar opposite type games that we got in Game 1 and Game 2 last night. But like you said, we'll get into that all here in just a little bit. We do have a couple MLB games in action right now, both tie games early. Twins and Nationals tied at 2 as we get set for the bottom of the 4th, and then we're in the top of 5 between the Rangers and Yankees at 1 right now. Yankees saw their 5-game win streak snapped yesterday by the Rangers. 6-1 final there. Yankees were big favorites today, out to like minus 163, I think. So we'll keep tabs on this one as we go. Both our baseball bets did well yesterday.
Yes, they did. Angels, everything is right with the world, got a victory. The only thing I wanted to add is Mackenzie Gore, worth pointing out, fantasy perspective for me as always, but also he had really gotten off to a rough start, had a pretty tough start out on the road against Seattle. But in the 2 previous had been okay. 8 2/3 over 2 starts. He given up 3 earned runs. Off to a really solid start here today. So maybe the turnaround is finally starting to happen for Mackenzie Gore. His expected fielding independent coming into today, 358. So much better and a little bit lower than his 467 ERA. And so far through 4 has given up just 1 earned run, has struck out 3, has walked 1. So we're starting to see maybe some regression to the mean for Gore.
I did want to ask you about the Angels. Did you see the stat yesterday of the hit by pitch with the bases loaded? There were 3 of them in that game yesterday.
I didn't see the stat. I saw that they were hit.
First game in 70 seasons for there to be that many
really
in a single game.
I didn't see that.
This season, in all, there have been 12 hit by pitches with the bases loaded across the whole league, and 3 were yesterday. So
I mean,
it doesn't happen like that.
Like you said, and yesterday was a good example. The result went the right way. The Angels bullpen held on. But as we talked about yesterday with the White Sox, it's just, I think, a really small example, not to pat yourself on the back, but what do we talk about as part of the handicap is, a team starts to perform pretty well. Then you start to get the pricing to go up in their favor as the power rating increases. So then you get yesterday where they opened up as a $1.35 favorite, the White Sox. They close as about $15, $20. Schultz had shown signs of some regression potentially. Sure enough, coughs up 7 earned runs, only strikes out 3, walks 4, and he gets taken deep, and it was a pretty poor performance for him. So just from a pricing standpoint, sometimes the plays of principle work. The play of principle on the Timberwolves did not, but the play of principle on the Angels yesterday at least did.
Similar to the coin flip we felt it was with Vegas Anaheim last night on the ice. We said there's at least value on the plus 140 with the Ducks. They end up coming through with flying colors in that one. To stick with baseball, though, because we do have a couple games that are set to get underway in the next 10 to 20 minutes. Final game of a 4-game set at Kauffman Stadium between the Guardians and Royals coming up here in just a few minutes. After dropping the first 2 of the series in 3 straight games, Cleveland bounces back yesterday for a 3-1 win. Looking through the box score, because I didn't watch this game, only managed 4 hits, the Royals did, in the loss, but I feel like their bats should get back on track today against Slade Ciccone. Looking into some of his numbers, his last 3 starts, 16 innings of work, JVT, 26 hits allowed, 16 runs, 5 homers, and just 10 strikeouts. So to me, it looks like the Royals should be in good position to do better here. Ciccone's 6.56 ERA, 5.83 FIP, compared to Seth Lugo on the other side, who's got a 2.68 ERA. He's only really had 1 bad start when he was lit up by your beloved Angels a week and a half ago. But outside of that, just 7 runs allowed to 6 other starts. And so initially, I was just going to go full game with the Royals, and I do have a small play on them in the money line for the full game. But I was looking at our boy Adam Burke's article this morning as well up on vsin.com. If you want to check that out, he's got his breakdown for all of his plays today. But he went with the F5 run line in favor of Kansas City. It's only minus 115, so you bring that minus 38 or so juice for the full game down, and I think it was like minus 145 or a little bit higher even just for the F5 run line, for the F5 money line. So taking that angle, I tailed our guy Berkey on that side as well.
All right, I'll be rooting for you. I didn't have anything here, so we'll keep an eye on it. And still keeping it with the full game, too. You can go after a Cleveland bullpen, which has shown its cracks at the back end over the last few weeks and is sunk down to about 15th in Major League Baseball and bullpen ERA. So I don't mind still going with a full game either.
Okay, that said, we got a lot more to get to here on the program. Let's set the table like we always do off the top here on Money Moves. Time to run it down.
It's time for the top headlines and topics of the day. This is The Rundown.
We are going to do a breakdown, ladies and gentlemen, of JVT's favorite topic, Aaron Rodgers. We've got return rumors. Latest development on the Rodgers saga today is he is expected to visit the Steelers on Friday and into the weekend. Expected to be back with Pittsburgh this season.
My favorite topic is actually the effect of the Strait of Hormuz and its impact on the economy, but I guess we're not going to do that here today. I'd rather sit through a 3-hour lecture on the Strait of Hormuz than talk about this dude at this point right now.
Well, it'll only be about 5 or 6 minutes, so I think you can get through it. I have faith
that
in you.
long? What is there to talk about?
There's some betting angles I would like to discuss with you.
By the way, the betting angle, we did this the other day, minus 670. Any other quarterback, be the starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers week 1. The reason why it was any other quarterback, not Aaron Rodgers, he was not officially on the roster. So it looks like that is going to cash. And we'll add some context to this because I saw Steelers fans, you're in a rough spot if a lot of you are clamoring for a battle between Howard and Aller for your starting quarterback job.
Just one game tonight in the NHL. Canes up 2-0 as that series flips over to Philadelphia. Even on the road, minus 166 favorites. The Hurricanes are. We'll dive into that game as well as the playoffs at large with a couple of beauties we're going to have join the program today. Eric Johnson, Stanley Cup champ, 18-year vet in the NHL, doing a great job as an analyst at ESPN. He's going to stop by end of the hour. And then Darren Millard covers the Vegas Golden Knights very closely as a pre-post intermission host, also a radio show host here in Vegas. Give us a breakdown on the Ducks and Vegas Golden Knights series.
Might as well just make the second headline here of the rundown. We love you, Stormy. I'm willing to bet both will express their love and joy for you. I'm just finally glad you got involved with booking some guests here.
Well, I mean, you berated me yesterday, so I had to
berate is a very strong word.
I don't know. That's what it felt like for me. But let's get to your beloved, the NBA, where you mentioned it off the top.
You it is berated.
We have another NBA injury. And it's unfortunate, JVT. I feel like this has been a theme of the NBA postseason. Stars going down, and you mentioned it, OG Anunoby among them yesterday, and he's been such a key piece for what the Knicks are trying to do.
Knicks, the number 1 team in net rating so far in this postseason in non-garbage time, and a big part of that has been OG Anunoby and what he's been able to do for him. So officially a hamstring injury. I did not see the grade, so we don't know if it's 1, 2, or 3. Learned the other day, the higher number is the worst. So we don't know how long he's going to be out. The team has said day to day, but as we learned yesterday, yesterday, you cannot trust a team or anybody's projections because we learned from Luka yesterday that the original timeline for him was 8 weeks, and nobody ever said anything about 8 weeks.
Yep.
So I don't know if you could trust anything at all when it comes to some projections and day-to-day and whatnot for a guy like Anunoby. But he's been fantastic for this team at this point right now in this postseason, and a big reason why they've been able to do what they can. With him on the floor in this postseason, they've outscored opponents by 21 points every 100 possessions. They are scoring 127.6. We talk about Jalen Brunson with Karl Anthony Towns, but the straw that stirs the drink that has been very underrated about what this run has been for the Knicks up to this point has been OG Anunoby.
Because you mentioned Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns, Brunson obviously steps up when you need him. Captain Clutch, where's your T-shirt? You need that. But then is there any concern with the Karl Anthony Towns foul situation and him not playing the minutes that you need a guy like that to be able to contribute?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. That's always been the thing for Cat. It has been, can you stay on the floor in terms of fouling? We have seen so many boneheaded fouls from Cat throughout his entire time in the postseason. And so you need to now, even more so, if he is going to miss time, OG Anunoby, you've got to be able to stay on the floor. Yesterday, again, plays less than 30 minutes, has 4 fouls in the game, too. Like, you've got to be able to stay out there. So that's going to add to the impact. And I don't know about you. I mean, right now, as you look ahead for this game 3, I think you would expect that Anunoby is not going to be out there. And I say that with some pause because you just don't know. Anunoby has dealt with hamstring issues before. He's tried to play through them before as well. If you remember that series against the Pacers a couple of years ago where he tried to come back a little bit too quick and he didn't really look right. Philly's a 1.5-point favorite, totals 213.5. And you talk about ruining things. You kind of ruin the handicap for the most part because you have 2 massive, impactful names that we don't know what their status is for this game. We still don't know what's going to happen with Joel Embiid, and now you throw OG Anunoby into the mix.
Did the 76ers' performance surprise you? How close they I mean, they had a lead with like 6 minutes to go here without Joel Embiid.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of those, I guess, not entirely because, we don't want to, as we talk about all the time, just because these things are happening, the Knicks blowing opponents out, does not mean it's going to continue to happen. And you see a lot of the mouth breather response of how did they not blow them out with Joel Embiid not out there? There's a bunch of different reasons why. The matchups change. You go a little bit quicker. You had a pretty good performance from some of these guys in terms of shooting and efficiency. When you look at VJ Edgecombe, who was 6 of 13 from the floor in that game, you had Kelly Oubre perform pretty well, shot 50% from the floor, scored nearly 20 points. But the problem is for the 76ers and why eventually they let go of the rope, you've got to get some more from your bench or at least something from some of these other pieces because that is a really big problem. And, I mean, what in the world are you going to do at center if Embiid's out again? Because Drummond wasn't particularly effective. Adem Bona came in. It wasn't particularly great either at the center spot. They're really thin at the 5 without Joel Embiid, and that's going to be an issue. And I thought you saw that yesterday, too. And also, it's a blessing when Paul George is the 4th option. But I saw Clipper Paul George a little bit there yesterday. That was tough. You go 5 of 13 from beyond the arc, and you tend to just settle for those jumpers. You need a little bit more, and only 1 trip to the free throw line, and he missed the 1 shot.
At the, throughout the course of the game, Philly was playing well. They were hitting their threes, and then, as you said, let go of the rope. Just felt like they kind of ran out of gas a little bit. And the way that this ended, for anyone who missed it, outscored 12-3 after that. Philly goes on a 1-9 run from the floor, just brutal, including 0 of 7 from 3 in that time. So after they were hitting and things were working, things just all of a sudden didn't when they needed it most. And so, as we said, after such a nail-biter in 76ers Knicks, we had the polar opposite of that in the nightcap. We'll discuss that as well as the 2 games we have coming up tonight. Cavs, Pistons, Lakers, Thunder, Game 2 upon us this evening.
So you're listening to this podcast because you want an edge. But what if I told you you're only halfway there? You've got the mindset. Now it's time to get the toolkit to match. Here's the thing. Pro bettors spend thousands on data and tools. But what they don't want you to know is that you can get the same edge for a fraction of the cost with VSiN Pro. VSiN Pro gives you access to expert picks, public betting data, prop projections, powerful tools, analytics, and more. Just tap the link in the description and see why thousands of bettors are already using VSiN Pro to cash more bets.
We have the tech to get food delivered in 15 minutes, but we all have horror stories about buying tickets. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage. Get amazing tickets in just a few taps. Fees are included, so what you see is what you pay. And the Game Time guarantee means authentic tickets at the best price every time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets to concerts, sports, comedy, and more with Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Back here on Money Moves, Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you. Coming up in the next segment, we're going to talk a little bit of NFL, but we did just get some news a moment ago that I wanted to bring up with you briefly, just because it's your team.
Oh, okay. They were talking about the boat trip.
No, although there's video of that apparently now as well for anybody who's out there on social media. However, no, Kenny Moore, it appears, officially released. How you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, fine. I think this was expected. They were trying to trade him, and that was what they were trying to do, and ultimately couldn't get there.
Because he requested the trade a while back, right?
Yeah. I think the Colts are going to be pretty bad next year. That, to me, is the big takeaway. You lost a lot on defense, and it was a defense that, as we had discussed, all throughout the season, we were here on these Live Bet Sunday shows that was kind of living on a prayer a little bit. They were really feasting on turnovers and their expected points added off of turnovers and those possessions. They were really capitalizing on those. A lot of the way they were playing on defense was not sustainable. Then you lose some of your edge rushers. You don't have that much depth there. Your secondary's been torn up a bit. Zara Franklin is gone too, one of the guys that played a lot for you over the last couple of years. This is, I think, a team that is going to really struggle defensively, and we just don't even know who's going to start for them at the beginning of the season. I guess the assumption is Daniel Jones is going to be healthy and ready to go coming off of a torn Achilles. I personally would doubt that, and so I do have some questions as to where this team ultimately ends up, and wouldn't be surprised. You have some options in terms of betting exact finishes in the division. A last place finish I don't think is out of the question at all for Indianapolis.
Their win total is 7.5, but let me see where the
wouldn't you think?
Fewest wins, Colts 30-1.
Fewest wins for the season?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think
not that low.
Yeah, I think they're competent enough to not fall that far. I just think that they're clearly the worst team in the division.
Okay.
With the improvements that we assume that the Titans are going to make with the new staff, and I think you and I are both Cam Ward believers. The Jacksonville should be competent. I don't know how good they're going to be, but they should be competent at the very least. And then the Texans, outside of their offense, we know that defense is going to be good enough to carry them by the scruff of their necks to some sort of positive record, we'll call it. So I think when you put all this together, somebody's got to take all the losses. And I think it's going to be a Colts team that, frankly, we might see Anthony Richardson again, just because you just don't know who's going to start at the beginning of the year. And maybe there's a real battle between Richardson and Leonard as to who's going to be the backup quarterback, and whoever wins that is going to start for them if Daniel Jones is not ready. But think about what we're talking about here. A battle between Anthony Richardson and Riley Leonard for potentially the starting gig to hopefully make way for Daniel Jones coming off of an Achilles injury.
One of those players who also requested a trade not too long ago. The Colts are third on the board in the division, plus 390. Texans, your favorite, plus 125, and the Jags, plus 210. And again, that win total sitting at 7.5. It is still just crazy to think back to this team, how we were talking about, could they be the one seed in the AFC, and then all of a sudden drop, 8 of their last 9 and 7 straight to close out the season. Again, though, we'll get back to the NFL a little bit later on here. We have an NBA postseason action going on our screens. We got 2 games coming up tonight. I did want to at least quickly get your reaction a little bit more, though, on what San Antonio did to the Minnesota Timberwolves last night, because this was, again, to reference the game that we had in the earlier portion, we have a game that has 25 lead changes. It's back and forth. Who's going to win or cover late in this thing? And then you go to San Antonio, where it's the most one-way game you could possibly have. They wanted to bounce back after game 1. They did it.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is, what's the cliche? You talk to coaches a lot. Just throw the tape out. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how much you're really taking away. It's human nature to let up after a game 1 win on the road. The 3-point shooting disparity was insane.
It finally happened, though.
Yeah.
So where I was talking about how good San Antonio had been shooting the 3 since February, it did not work out in game 1, and then it was like a complete revision in game 2.
The term, I mean, we should talk about, they're not consistent. So yeah, we actually brought this up. I was on Harvard Handicappers today. You can check that out wherever you get your podcast. Yeah. So the thing that Zach and I talked about was just that. The inconsistency of the Spurs shooting, I still believe, is eventually going to burn them. But inconsistency means, of course, you're all over the place. So there's going to be performances like yesterday. So, again, cleaning the glass filters out garbage time, so you don't have to track the minutes, kind of muddies up the noise, backups in, all that kind of stuff. So garbage time started at the 10-minute mark of the fourth quarter yesterday. Before they got to that point, San Antonio was 11 of 28 from beyond the arc, 39.3%. They were 9 of 23 above the break, which is 40%, which is obviously very good when you're talking about above the break threes. This team was just lighting them up. They weren't really particularly great inside at the rim. They only shot 57%, and they did get to the free throw line. Free throw discrepancy and free throw rate were very good in their favor. That just got ugly really quick. And if you're Minnesota, there was a couple of things that I didn't like. First off, it was clearly out in terms of the result pretty quickly. why did Anthony Edwards still play 24 minutes? If you could see the writing on the wall, just get him out of there and let him play like less than 20 minutes. Again, if you're going to put this effort forward, I don't know why you didn't just, not play him like we talked about yesterday. You already achieved the split of home court. That's got to be a little bit different here too. So I would expect you're kind of throwing this thing out. You're getting a day off. You're going back home. And let's see if you can steal this and take a series lead in Game 3 when you're back in Minnesota.
Spurs led by 24 at half, as many as 47 at one point in the second half. And I will say I liked the way that Chris Finch described what was the Timberwolves' worst postseason loss in franchise history.
Well, I mean, they just kicked their butt in every aspect of the game tonight. So offensively, defensively, it didn't matter. They took it to us, and we didn't really respond very well. So.
What do you say to your team after a tough loss like this, or do you let the stat sheet speak for itself?
No, I just told them we just got punked. Yeah.
Just told him we just got punked.
Did you see Anthony Edwards' comment after the game in the locker room?
What did he say?
We got blew out. My mama used to tell me a hard head makes a soft ass.
Okay.
I mean, seriously, it's you don't want to.
Yeah, move on.
I don't think there's like levity to it. It's just one of those. It got so bad where it's just, hey man, all right, we got blown out. Let's just see if we can come back. We see it all the time in postseasons. One game does not define what a series is going to be. Case in point, the Celtics have 2 30-point wins under their belt this postseason.
Yep.
They are not playing anymore.
Yep. Okay, let's look to tonight. Game 1 of the doubleheader. Pistons and Cavs going head-to-head. We saw Detroit take Game 1, 111-101. It was a very back and forth. Ended up a game that was really decided by turnovers. And I know we talked a lot about the turnover problem for the Cavs and how it was a little bit magnified probably on James Harden because, as you put it, the Pistons have been turning teams over essentially all season long, so maybe we shouldn't read into this as much as we were. Is this something you think that they can rein in and the zigzag hits again today? Cavs getting 3.5 on the road in Game 2.
I mean, I hope so. I didn't bet it for the zigzag, but I do have the Cleveland Cavaliers today catching 3.5, so I do hope the zigzag would be alive and well here for this matchup. Because this game, I mean, you go back to the way that this contest played out, go to the fourth quarter, it was a tie game in the fourth quarter before Detroit ended up pulling away and winning 111-101. So if you're Cleveland and you come out of that going, all right, well, we turned the ball over on 21% of our offensive possessions. James Harden turned it over 7 times. Donovan Mitchell was average at best. I think that you look at this overall and feel like if you're Cleveland, all right, we got to clean some things up. We got to tweak some things that we're going to do here. And I think that we're going to have an opportunity to potentially steal a game against Detroit. So there's 2 things I think that are tying into what I like. And I bet the over here too today as well.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, because I went under for Game 1, and it's not so much a, hey, zigzag this. I think one of the things that has to change if you're Cleveland is you've got to speed this thing up.
Sure.
Because one of the things that worked against them was playing Detroit's set defense. They were in the half court a lot in that game, in Game 1. They only had 93 possessions in Game 1. 86% of Cleveland's plays, according to Cleaning the Glass, came in a half court or against a set defense. Part of that is your inefficiency on offense. So, you can't, like, if you're not making shots, then all of a sudden you can't really go back and set up your own defense and vice versa. But you've got to be able to play quicker against Detroit so they can't set their defense, so they can't jump those passing lanes, so they can't force those turnovers as much. So I think you're going to get more possessions, so that should lead to a little bit more scoring. The other is Donovan Mitchell's got to have the ball in his hands more. If you go by usage rate, James Harden's usage rate over the last 2 games is like 37% compared to like 25% for Donovan Mitchell. That should not be that way. It should be a lot more equal. And I would expect that Mitchell is going to do a little bit more here in terms of offensive creation and putting a little bit more on his shoulders. And I also think that means playing some different personnel. We'll get into player props a little bit later up against it, but like Jalen Tyson, for example, he played 18 minutes. Would expect that maybe he plays a few more, especially with Sam Merrill ailing a little bit too. So I think that you're going to start to speed this thing up if you're Cleveland, and I think you have a chance to stay in that number tonight.
So that was like my initial thought as we were talking about if Cleveland was able to bounce back here. I feel like that's correlated with the over just in general because of a lot of what you laid out, not just pace, but like turning it over less. Donovan Mitchell getting more involved as a scorer. I mean, he had 23 points in the game and like was never getting to the line. So I wonder if that's too something that potentially officials maybe did pay attention to a little bit because that was a complaint coming out of the game. We played some of the audio about the frustration that he had not being able to get to the line despite driving to the basket and trying to draw fouls.
Well, I mean, we talk in these postseason series, you can bring it up in the post media. They will also send stuff to the officials after the games, and they will try to at least emphasize, hey, this is what we felt like you didn't call. And so they'll be hyper-focused on things like that. That, I think, actually plays into this next game that we'll talk about, too, Thunder and Lakers, and how that might affect the way that game is from a scoring standpoint. But I think all those points are sound when you're looking at this. You got to speed this up. You can't let them play their set defense because you had some trouble with it.
You mentioned some potential prop angles. Our guy Zach Cohen, who you were on Hardwood Handicappers with earlier today, he's got an article up on vsin.com right now, and that's just the tip of the iceberg for all of the content that we have at vsin.com each and every day right now. We've got a special annual discount going on right now. Instead of the usual $240 price to be a full-time subscriber, if you use our promo code PRO, you can get it for just $199 and an additional 2 months on top of it. So that's 14 months of VSiN Pro access to everything we do here at the network. That's the daily best bets from all of your favorite VSiN show hosts and guests, access to the real-time bet splits, the AI-powered prop tools, 24/7 video, plus all of our betting guides as they come through as well. Check it out today. Come join us at vsin.com/subscribe. But all of the postseason content we have right now is as good as it gets. You don't want to miss out.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
All right, hopefully Game 2 of the NBA postseason doubleheader tonight isn't the same level of blowout as last night or the night before. Come on.
Got some bad news for you.
Yeah, that is the expectation according to the odds as the Lakers and Thunder go head-to-head once again tonight in OKC. Game 1, the spread was 15.5. That's what we've got again today. Lakers couldn't cover it last time around, lose by 18. Total to 10.5 tonight. I mean, the Thunder have just been so dominant, JVT. They've won and covered every single game so far in the postseason. Do you think that they can keep it rolling tonight for a 6th straight?
Yeah. I mean, why would you think otherwise? Outside of, I don't know what, but this is a matchup that doesn't really work for Los Angeles. Even without Jalen Williams out there, there's just not much shot creation. The Thunder are very good defensively. What I'm going to be curious to see is how this game is called, because the last game went under the total, and the Thunder still ended up winning and covering that matchup. I think you could still get a situation where you win and you cover if you're OKC and the game goes over. But the reason why you ask, how is this game called? If you look at the free throw numbers for both teams, they were in the 5th and 4th percentile in terms of free throw rate, both Thunder and Lakers respectively.
SGA had like 3.
Yes, I believe it was 4 perfectly. No, you're right. I think it was 3. Either way, he was right in that range. So, and they were giving him nothing.
Yep.
So, again, going back to what we closed our last conversation with about the Cavs and the Pistons, I'm sure the Thunder are going to send some stuff in. If a different officiating crew comes in and views these things differently, which they usually do, then you get some more free throws, the stoppages in play, you get more opportunities to score, obviously. And this goes for both teams, too, which is why you could potentially get over the total here. This was, too, as well, a very slow game, too. I mean, we're talking about 90 possessions between the two of them, and that was about 1:45 left to go in the 4th, so well under 100 possessions. This is going to be another, I think, offensive slog for L.A., but I thought it was a little more interesting to play this over, just kind of expecting a little bit more of a push from the Oklahoma City offense, officiating getting involved more to get some more free throws involved as well, and maybe a little bit more just overall efficiency luck for the Los Angeles Lakers. They didn't shoot the ball particularly well in that first game. They shot 31%, 9 of 29.
It was essentially just LeBron.
Yeah.
And I know we had some of the numbers the other day, and I guess I'll give them out again here. Austin Reeves, Marcus Smart, and Luke Kennard went 8 of 35 with 8 turnovers. Mm-hmm. And you have to imagine Reeves, maybe now that he's had a couple games under his belt, does he get a little bit more comfortable? I mean, 3 of 16 is not what we have known or come to expect from Austin Reeves.
No, not at all. So I think all of that put together, I feel more confident in going over the total here than I would playing the side.
Okay.
So, and in our Killer Sports contest, we do get 209. So that's also part of the reason why in that contest I'm using, because it's up to 211 at multiple spots here. But I think 210.5 is playable, and we'll have more on that in Best Bets.
What's the latest on that leaderboard situation?
Gil is at the top.
Okay.
Give me 2 seconds, and I'll pull this up here. But Gil is doing well. He is still leading the rest of the way. I have slipped to 7th, I think. Yeah, I'm slipped at 7th. I'm 12 and 10. Gil is in first at 17 and 7.
Got to bump up those numbers.
Yeah, Stephen Fitt. Easy for you to say. Steve Fezzik, 15 and 11. Kyle Atkins at 14 and 9. Carl Sack is 14 and 11. Zach Cohen is 13 and 8. So we are Harvard handicappers trying to fight our way in here. We'll see if we can get that done.
In terms of the series prices for this bad boy, OKC out to minus 3,000. Lakers 12-1 right now. The sweep that JVT gave out prior to the series at plus 120 is now odds on, minus 105 for OKC to close this thing out in 4. They are minus 170 favorites to win the NBA title. Just ridiculous that they're already there. That's the number already for them to win it all.
I mean, it makes some sense. The Western Conference, we'll see what happens in the West and who they face. Obviously, in the East, we don't know who's going to come out of the other side of the bracket, but the Western team will be, unless it's the Lakers, will be favored over any Eastern Conference foe that they face.
All right, I said we would get into, actually, real quickly. My first 5 bet not looking great out there in Kansas City.
Extend out.
Down 3-0 early.
Vamp, as they say.
Don't love it. I think that there was a 2 RBI double that was like before they even had an out, or maybe just 1 out at that point. Just Seth Lugo, not the start that I was hoping for, buddy.
No, also, I think you got a little bit of bad luck here because there was a nifty little defensive play there in the bottom of the first. Kansas City had runners on first and second with 1 out, but that ultimately did not go your way.
But
you got plenty of time. Relax. So what do you got again?
4 more innings.
What do you got again?
I need the Royals to have a lead through 5.
And that's it? I thought you played something else.
I played the full game on KC as well, but
Okay.
So a long way to go for that, but this is not the start that your girl was hoping for. Not the start to the offseason that a lot of the Pittsburgh Steelers fans were hoping for either, with the will they, won't they with Aaron Rodgers. And according to reports today, he is expected to play for the Steelers in 2026. Ian Rappaport of NFL Network and ESPN putting out a deal is not done, and there's always caution until these things are signed. But Rodgers' plan is to play for Pittsburgh, and the step this weekend with him looking like he's going to be visiting the Steelers on Friday and throughout the weekend is the first step toward that end. While the Steelers gave Rodgers the UFA tender, that's considered a placeholder.
Good.
I mean, this is what we've expected the whole time, right? Whenever any of when that UFA tender thing came down, I think everybody was trying to look about, okay, so if he doesn't play for Pittsburgh, where else would he go? And we're trying to force fits, and we saw the Cardinals rumor and all of that stuff. It was always going to be Steelers or nothing in my mind, no?
Yes, or nothing. I would agree with that. I don't think Rappaport's wording in the report, let's see, the most likely plan all offseason was for Rodgers to play in Pittsburgh under new coach Mike McCarthy. Didn't say that. Then do that. Then come out and end the speculation as to what we're going to do here. I would assume that the Steelers didn't really think that was 100% the case. And to the point about whether or not this is officially a done deal, because remember, all this wording is very tentative. It seems very likely. It's probable. As Rappaport notes in the report, sides must now hammer out a new deal for Rodgers to play his second season in Pittsburgh. It is, quote, hard to imagine the quarterback plays for $15 million, the figure of the UFA tender. We're not done. We're going to keep talking about this.
It's just so silly to me. And we have a conversation around Rodgers like this every offseason, but the fact that this year in particular, I feel like the organization went out of their way to say, we have a plan in place. Aaron's going to let us know when he's ready much earlier so that we don't have to go through the rigmarole of will he be available for...
What was the plan?
What do you mean?
Like the non-Rodgers plan. What was the plan that the Steelers had?
I don't know if they have one,
but
right? They don't. Yeah, it's Will Howard,
versus Drew Aller for a quarterback
exactly.
battle. For a quarterback battle. So, I think it seemed clear that they were very much praying behind the scenes. Dear God, he better resign with us.
And you have to imagine though that Rodgers should want to, with some of the additions and changes that they made in this offseason to this point, right? Like they should be better this coming year. And Rodgers, I know you didn't like. You didn't like all of the underlying numbers and metrics for him, which I understand, but the touchdown-interception ratio was still top 7 in the National Football League, and he didn't have a defense that everyone expected them to be. We thought that this was going to be a team that was reliant on the defense, and Aaron Rodgers wasn't going to have to do everything, and then he had to go out here and try to play hero ball at moments, which wasn't good for him at his age.
Yeah, 6.5 yards per attempt, average at the target of just 6.5 yards downfield. It was all dink and dunk. It was... perfectly average by a lot of different metrics.
I mean, he didn't have much wide receiver depth.
16. I mean,
you had DK Metcalf and Kenneth Gainwell.
Okay, so you honestly think at this point in his career that he's going to take a massive step forward from these numbers that we're looking at from a season ago?
I'm not going to say a massive step forward, but you have Michael Pittman in there. Can you and Mike McCarthy get the most out of him? You have additional support in the running back room now, bringing in Rico Dowdle, who's had back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. I think that there's a lot of reason for optimism for what the Steelers can be if Aaron Rodgers plays and is excited to be there.
Win total 8.5, shaded to the under -120. So where would you go? Let's assume that he's
I would go over.
resigning.
They won 10 games last year with him.
That was with Mike Tomlin.
So if Mike McCarthy is good at anything, it's offensive football. Mm-hmm. No?
Sure.
The defense should be better with their additions.
Yeah. Look, if you wanted to be,
it's not like I think
it's not like I think they're going to be terrible. When you're at this point of your career, usually, I will say, you're heading in one direction in terms of your effectiveness as a quarterback. And we have seen that effectiveness wane in the last 2 seasons.
I gotcha.
So I don't think that his last 3 full seasons as a starter, if we're looking at it, so his last year in Green Bay, the year in New York, and then here last season, your average depth of target has gone from 8.5 to 7.5 to 6.5. So you're clearly not as comfortable pushing the ball downfield. It's great that he protects the football, but there's really not that much effectiveness there. And I don't think that there's going to be. I don't think he's going to play to a level that makes me run to the window to back this team to go over 8.5 wins. And
I'm not saying that they're going to go out here and have another
you loved them last
11-win season, win in the playoffs, which is something they haven't done in a decade. I'm not necessarily saying that, but I think you have some wide receiver depth, like I said, bringing in Pittman to play with Metcalf, Jeremy Bernard in the draft from Alabama, who's a really versatile wide receiver. You have some more options now. I like what they did with the offensive line too. They had a really good draft, and on defense for a unit that was supposed to be what they were reliant on last year that didn't show up, you add in Jaquan Brisker, Jamel Dean. Is that something that can at least re-elevate that team to that side of the ball to what it was a year prior, which was excellent? I don't know. I just feel like there's more reason for optimism with the Steelers than there is negativity just because you don't like Aaron Rodgers. I mean, that said.
It's not, I don't like him. That's an unfair jab.
You don't like him, though. That's not an unfair jab. It's a fact.
No, but it's not my basis of analysis for why I think he's not going to be good. The last 8 games of the season.
It's because you're ageist, which is the same thing as well.
Last 8 games of the regular season, he was PFF's 32nd ranked quarterback. He completed barely 62% of his passes, and his average depth of target was, again, barely 6 yards downfield. Come on.
The sports calendar never stops with the Sharp Plays covering it all. They've been winning for 15 straight years. All of it documented, logs publicly posted as well at sharpplays.com. That kind of transparency, rare in the industry with the Sharp Plays move. The sports books take notice. Start winning today at sharpplays.com. We got to step aside here on Money Moves. When we come back, diving into the NHL Stanley Cup champ Erik Johnson joining the program next.
We have the tech to get food delivered in 15 minutes, but we all have horror stories about buying tickets. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage. Get amazing tickets in just a few taps. Fees are included, so what you see is what you pay. And the Game Time guarantee means authentic tickets at the best price every time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets to concerts, sports, comedy, and more with Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Just one game tonight in the NHL, but boy, has this league delivered on a night-to-night basis. Back here on Money Moves, Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you, VSiN, the sports betting network. And I think you're going to be excited about our next guest, JVT, because the two of you can bond about having to put up with me. Although EJ's free of me now for round 2 since we got assigned different series. Erik Johnson joining us here on the Progressive Guest Line. 18-year NHL vet, Stanley Cup champ with the Colorado Avalanche, a breakout star, by the way, on ESPN's NHL coverage this year. EJ, how are we doing?
I'm good, Stormy. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, you got rid of me for this series, but maybe next year we'll see. A lot of games left. Never know.
A girl can dream. A girl can dream. But JVT just complains about me daily, and you've had to deal with me being such a mess as well in the first round of the playoffs.
It's a little much.
It's true. I mean, it's true. It's all right. Let's start, though, with the series that you've been working here in round 2 and Avs and Wild. Are the Avs inevitable? Is it just that simple with the way that they have come out?
Yeah, I think if you just look at their body of work throughout the entire playoffs, it would not surprise me if they go 16-0 and just sweep every series. I mean, I think there's something to be said about Minnesota getting 4 days of rest and maybe getting the opportunity for some of their guys like Brodin and Eriksson Ek to come back, and maybe Wallstedt gets rested and they can maybe steal game 3, but they have to win game 3 because there's no chance the Avs are losing 4 in a row. There's just no chance. So Minnesota has to win Saturday to have any shot at coming back in this series. I don't care how many reinforcements they get. You're not winning 4 in a row against the Avs no matter what. So they have to have Saturday in game 3. And even still, it's going to be a steep hill to climb. So they have to have that one, but the Avs look really, really tough. And I don't want to be labeled a homer because I played there for so long, but they look almost unbeatable.
What about in net here for Minnesota? Is this a problem? 2 different games, 2 different goaltenders, and the same result that it didn't really look great. And where would you go between the pipes as you move forward here with Minnesota?
I tell you what, like, I wasn't super impressed with Gustafsson's press conference after the game. Like, he just kind of seemed almost irritated that he was getting some of the questions that he was getting. Let's be honest. The first goal shouldn't have gone in. Weak backhander. Probably need a save there. The third one, you'd probably want him to have back too. He made some big saves other than that, but I think there's just no chance they don't go back to Wallstedt. Like, I think he's going to play for sure on Saturday in game 3. And I understand why they gave him a rest, just because he played so many games in round 1 and they were tight games, a lot of shots. And then they had maybe a day or 2 off before they played the second round, game 1 of Colorado. So, and then he got shelled for 8. They lost 9-6. One was an empty netter. So I just think they'll go back to the St. Paul wall, or the wall of St. Paul. I think that's his nickname. So I think that's their best chance to win game 3, you guys.
When you look from a skating standpoint, 5-on-5, the metrics haven't actually been that bad for Minnesota, but special teams have been just a significant problem, and it goes back to their round 1 series against Dallas, too. Is that something at this point you think can get corrected, or against a team like Colorado, is that just too big of a mountain to climb?
Yeah, I think like their special teams, especially their penalty kill, dating back for the longest time has been their Achilles heel in the playoffs. It was the sole reason they lost to Dallas a couple of years ago in the playoffs. I think it's right around 58%, which I'm not kidding you. I could dress out there with you and PK Subban and Oshie and like 4 other guys. Like, it's not difficult to kill above 60%. Like, 60% is so anemic in the NHL. Like, you could dress almost anybody and throw them out there and they could do a better job than 58%. Like 58%, I can't even believe they are even around that mark. And Colorado scored 2 in game 1. And I'm not trying to be too harsh on the Minnesota penalty kill, but if that was even 68% or like 75%. So the baseline for penalty kill in the NHL, like a good penalty kill is right around 80%. So to be below 60, if they were anywhere near 70, I think this is a completely different series, even if they kill one of those in game 1 the other night. So I hate to rag on their penalty kill, but like you said, 5-on-5, it's been, Colorado's better, but not by that much. And the special teams has just been the biggest difference. Like, they have to find a way to get a kill in game 3 and 4 if they want to have a chance.
When you watch them, do you think it's schematic? Do you think it's effort? Like, why do you think it is so bad with their penalty kill?
I think at some point it does get mental when you get one against you and then you get another one and then you're starting to struggle. It's almost always in the back of your head and like, okay, wow, like our penalty kill is awful right now. And I've been on penalty kills that have been terrible. I've been on penalty kills that have been really good. But that penalty kill to me seems like they want to be aggressive, but then they don't. They want it like they're kind of like in between, and you can't be in between. You're either going or you're not. You're not in between. You just have to commit one way or the other, and they just seem like a half step behind. For example, the Landeskog goal, McKinnon one-touches it from the goal line right to the backside to Landeskog, tap in one time, or no one's going to stop that. But the defenseman in front, I think it was Middleton, he was just a half second late on the slide, and either just hold and take Landeskog or go right away and take McKinnon. But you can't be in between. So I think that's the biggest thing. Like, they want to be aggressive, but there's a difference between being aggressive and being reckless. And I think maybe a little bit, sometimes you get reckless and then you want to back off, and then sometimes you're passive. So you just can't be in between.
ESPN NHL analyst Eric Johnson joining us here on the Progressive Guest Line. Something in the Eastern Conference we've talked a lot about is this Carolina Hurricanes team, and how, at least for me personally, I always think that it's going to be the year, and then they inevitably let me down in the Eastern Conference final. But because of the youth that's on the other side of the bracket, could this actually be a year where they reach or maybe exceed those expectations and do make a Stanley Cup? How do you see it?
I think if we put the playoffs right now in the NHL simulation online, I think you would just see Colorado and Carolina be in the finals right away. I've talked to a bunch of people. Everyone just says, can we just get to Colorado, Carolina in the finals already? And it's no disrespect to Buffalo, Vegas, Anaheim, Philly, Minnesota. So it's no disrespect to those teams. It just feels like these teams are a cut above the rest. But I think it would be unbelievable to see like a Colorado and Buffalo in the final. I think that would be awesome. Just the amount of offense on both sides. But to me, it does kind of feel like Carolina's year. Like they've knocked on the door for so long and just haven't been able to punch their ticket in. But for me, I just think those two teams, they play at a speed that a lot of other teams aren't right now, and they're getting great goaltending and great special teams for the most part. Outside of Colorado's power play, it hasn't been great, but it was good in game one. So I think those are the teams that are kind of the top tier for me. And then some of the other teams are right below them. But listen, I've been wrong before. I'll be wrong again. And you never know what can happen in the playoffs.
Some of those Stanley Cup exact result prices, by the way, for anyone listening: Colorado to beat the Canes plus 310, the Canes to beat Colorado plus 370, and Colorado to beat Buffalo plus 750. We have a series split now in Vegas and Anaheim, and it feels like the Ducks have largely been the better team for the majority of both games to this point. You know John Tortorella well from your time in Philly. How do you think he might be able to reset this Vegas Golden Knights team as they have to go on the road next?
Yeah, I still think they're in the driver's seat, and I haven't been a huge believer in Anaheim. Really, I was a believer up until the deadline, and then they kind of stumbled home, and I just didn't know how they were going to do. I thought Edmonton would beat them. You know, they shoved that down my throat. I was wrong there. I think I picked Vegas in 6. We'll see how that shakes out. But Anaheim's young, and they're kind of playing with house money right now, and that can be dangerous, right? Like you have no expectations. No one's really expected you to get this far. And, you know, now home ice switches in their favor. They got the split in Vegas, and they're going to go home and try and take both of those games. But I mean, that series feels like a 6 or 7 to me. I don't see any scenario where Vegas doesn't get one of those games in Anaheim. But yeah, I just think Vegas is a veteran team that knows how to win. And I think they're not necessarily playing how they thought they would be right now, but they're still well within grasp of winning the series.
EJ, you're awesome. Thank you so much for the time. We appreciate it. And enjoy getting back home to Minnesota. What a cool series for you, the team you played for in your home state.
Yeah, thank you both. I appreciate it anytime.
Thanks, man.
Erik Johnson, everybody. Make sure you catch him. He will be on the broadcast for ESPN Game 4 coming up next week. But a series that, I don't know, JVT, I thought was going to be much more competitive than it's been to this point.
Sure.
I think the Wild are a really good team.
So is this more about Colorado then?
I think at this point,
being the dominant force in that conference, it would seem to be.
That paired with, I think, as EJ mentioned there, the special teams issue has been significant and really, really costly. Really appreciate EJ joining us and spending his time, especially as somebody who has won a cup before. He knows what it takes, and to be as complimentary as he is about where Colorado is right now, I think says something about what that team is. We got to step aside here. Kicking off hour 2 coming up next on Money Moves. Some more baseball to update you on. Needless to say, my Royals play not going great here to start. We'll be right back.
We have the tech to get food delivered in 15 minutes, but we all have horror stories about buying tickets. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage. Get amazing tickets in just a few taps. Fees are included, so what you see is what you pay. And the Game Time guarantee means authentic tickets at the best price every time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets to concerts, sports, comedy, and more with Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply.